I don't think YouTube cares.
We're taking a little chance.
You must die.
Stop molesting the guest.
Guest molester. I'm not going to get any prettier. So.
Don't make him cuddle a pillow.
Probably went up his rear a little bit, you know. And
All right, everybody, it is the Drinking with Drew show. It's May 18th, 2023. Tonight we have an awesome special guest in the show. Metal band Siren is going to join us, along with a buddy of ours, Jason Stallworth. And of course, we'll have Laura and her titties. All right, guys. It's been an interesting week setting this up. I want to thank everybody for coming out. We have Doug Lee and Ed Aborn. That's exactly how it works, right? That's perfect. Okay, cool. Let me go. Are you on mute?
No.
Okay, what's going on? Did I have
Maybe
you down? Try it again.
Check.
There you are.
All right.
There you are. Okay.
I'm here, man. How you doing?
All right, good. All right, guys. So appreciate you coming out. And Jason, honestly, man, I appreciate you setting this up. Fuck yeah, bro. So we're going to talk a little metal and what it was like just challenging yourself through the 80s scene and then rebounding back and all that good stuff. So we'll get to that. So last night was interesting. We went to Voivod and I see Doug pulling up in my driveway and I'm like, I thought that was that motherfucker last night at the show.
Hat. I saw the hat when it was pulling up.
But the show, the hat changed a little bit. Doug, what did you do with the hat? You got a new hat?
I got a new hat. I must have walked by you guys 10 times last night.
At least.
At least. So
I almost said something to you a couple times.
Well, usually when people say something to me, in public, it's not polite. So I was like,
it wasn't gonna be like that. Don't I know you? You look familiar.
I'm like, God damn it, your goatee was a little shorter. I think you had a new hat, and then I hadn't met you in person yet, so I also didn't want to make that mistake of being like, are you that Doug? And then being no or something,
No.
Yeah, and honestly, and don't take this the wrong way, Doug, but you look a little thinner in person.
I am a little thinner in person.
Yeah.
Oddly enough.
Yeah. So,
Camera adds 50 pounds. 15 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really 100 pounds. You would never know.
25 pounds per titty. Let's just go with this. So last night with the Voivod show, how long has it been? Like I saw Voivod in I think 88, maybe 80, 89, I forget. And it was kind of ironic that you guys are on the show today because the theme of their show is 40th year anniversary. And thinking about that, man, you're like, holy shit, 40 years of metal. I mean, y'all started 81-ish. 81. So that's about the same time frame, but I was blown away, man. Like I was just like, wow, man, that was a rejuvenation in my heart and my head. And I was like, wow, just seeing these guys was amazing. So jumping forward to think that there's fans in Germany that have that same mentality to see you guys. I mean, that had to be amazing going over there and just experiencing that and reintroducing yourself to all these fans over there.
Yeah, the whole story is crazy.
Yeah.
Just that we're back at all. I mean, when things kind of, eased to a hiatus there around 89, 90?
a slow crawl.
Yeah. It was just like, okay, that was it. 2 albums, 2 full albums and the demos and everything. And then it wasn't until that 2016 when everything really unexpectedly spun up again.
And I definitely want to get into that. And the documentary that you released was amazing. I watched that. It must have taken a lot to just even fathom that this would be produced and come to fruition because, I mean, it's
all been crazy, man. Just everything that has happened since then, since getting the initial, that offer to get back together and play, which took, a few months for us to even talk about it, Doug and I, to think, is this something that we want to do? Is this something that we can do? And going from there, each of the steps all the way through, to where we were in process of preparing and telling my friend Chris Jericho about it when he's the one who's like, wow, this is crazy.
Right.
So he's the one that was like, I want to see this story.
And that's kind of what I want to get into. And Chris Jericho, big name, everybody knows. We need to throw that out. Like, he's got a metal band. He's known in the scene as well. Did you meet him through the music scene, or how did you guys actually come together?
Strangely enough, we actually met in church. Okay. This was back in like 1999, and his then fiance was going to the same church that my wife and I at the time had been going to. And I noticed him there because he's kind of stands out, long hair and stuff. And I knew who he was. I knew he was a wrestler. I was a casual wrestling fan, but I also knew that he was absolutely into metal.
Right.
And so when I approached him one day after a church, I said, "Hey man, I know who you are. I think we like a lot of the same obscure European metal bands." And that really opened a door that's not the normal, hey, are you going to beat Hulk Hogan,
right.
this weekend? And that's kind of what kicked things off with he and I, and we started talking about Halloween and a bunch of other bands. And as we got to know each other, then we exchanged numbers and found out we had the same love for horror movies. And it was just kind of like we had hit it off, so we have remained friends ever since. And he is an incredible human being in terms of everything he does.
Right.
Between getting to the top of the wrestling business, now having gold albums, in the music business, best-selling books, and he remembers every detail of everything. I mean, despite being hit on the head with chairs and multiple concussions, he remembers everything. Liner notes from almost any album. You can say, okay, who wrote this song? On the second Halloween album, and he's like, oh, that would be Marcus Groskopf wrote that one. He just has that detail, and just such a fan of metal that I don't think a lot of people appreciate just how much he truly is into the music. And of course, he's done all kinds of stuff, in and around the industry.
So let's back up 30 years. Obviously, Chris Jericho had to have some type of interest, some type of, like, he felt something was powerful enough to invest in this documentary. You guys started when Tampa Bay metal was metal.
Yeah.
You had all the big bands out there. You had the number one metal capital of the world is what I would say. How did you and Doug come into play? I've read it. I know personally, but for the people listening, how did you and Doug come into play?
So I joined the band. Siren had just been formed in 1981, and that was with Rob Phillips and Hal Dunn, who is still a member of the band today. And they had a drummer for about 5 minutes before asking me to come over and join them. I had been in a band that was literally next door to them. It was the cousin of their bass player at the time, Mike Martinez. And so I joined, and then shortly after that is when Doug came on board.
Doug, what was your first impression when you met somebody that had long hair that has bald hair now?
Like, damn, that's a good-looking man.
Did you look at him and say, this guy is one day not going to have long hair like me?
Never thought that. Looked at him and I said, this is a drummer.
Yeah. Did you meet him at a show? Or was it just kind of...
No, actually, Doug, were you friends with Rob or how?
I was friends with Rob then.
Okay, so that's how you came in.
And at the time, everybody in Brandon was a guitar player. I was no different. I was a guitar player too. But since there was already 2 guitar players, we weren't going to be another Leonard Skinner. So I decided to become a vocalist.
Yep.
And I put down the guitar and lost a lot of my guitar playing chops over the years, but I'm getting them back now. But yeah, I mean, in the interest of having a whole band, I thought it was a good time to be a vocalist.
The first time you heard yourself actually sing, because I cannot sing.
Oh, I hated it.
I tried it, and I definitely can't sing and play guitar at the same fucking time.
Well, it's hard. I hated my voice. I hated the way I sounded, and I had to learn a lot of songs quick to get in the band too. So, yeah. But it was it was a challenge. I was always up for a new challenge. I enjoyed it.
Let's go through some of the venues that were around back at then. I mean, obviously Brass Mug. That's where I first started playing at 12 years old.
Well, the venues were completely different.
Yeah.
There was a lot of different stuff back then. We played at a place that was over right across the bridge there in Clearwater called the Red Eye, which later went on to become the original Hooters.
I didn't know that.
They bought that, and then it became a Hooters instead of a rock and roll bar. But before that, it was a rock and roll bar. That was probably the 3rd or 4th gig that we had. So it was one of our early gigs there.
Yeah.
And there was a place right here in town that used to be in what was known as Brandon Mall, which is like what Burlington Coat Factory is now or something. And it was the Pub, Sitting Bull, Darby's,
The Golden Mug.
the Golden Mug. It had a number of names from like
it
1980 to 1986, and that was where we would play the bands like Siren, Nasty Savage, bands like Avatar,
Sabotage,
came
Avatar at the
through.
time.
Yep, exactly. And it was just so that was kind of like a Brandon thing. And then as you spread out from there, some of the the classics, Rubies,
The Sunset.
Sunset Club.
Yep, Volley Club later.
Yep, Volley Club.
Club 92, which I think is actually still there.
I think it's something else now, but
But it's amazing to think some of the venues that were around back then, like the Brass Mug, that have actually survived to this day.
Right.
That amazes me. I mean, even though the Brass Mug changed locations, but still they're around, which is interesting because I met Heather at a keg party. Me and my bass player at the time, we were just floating around Temple Terrace, and we were like, we noticed a bunch of cars at a house.
What's going on there?
We just walk up and we're like, I know that. That's Heather from the Brass Mug. And she was just a bartender at the time. And so we, went in, and she had some puppies, and I took a German Shepherd puppy home.
Oh, wow.
And woke up the next morning. My mom's like, what the fuck is in your bed?
My new girlfriend.
Yeah.
Well, something you said is a good point too, is a lot of times, especially in the early days, we weren't playing in venues. We were at parties, we'd set up a stage and get the kegs. And
a lot of the venues, like the ones that we played in, for instance, they didn't want to have metal bands at all.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the metal bands that were a little bit more radical than we were would go in there and play and trash the place. And then they definitely didn't want any metal bands after that. So
Right.
It wasn't easy to get a gig as a metal band. We always promised we'd learn more commercial stuff, but we never did.
We all started as a cover band, right?
yeah, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, lots of praise, lots of made, and lots of accept.
It's like, we learned an AC/DC song. Let us play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And
It's a good one.
I hate,
Promise.
you hear people compare bands and say, oh, they sound like this, they sound like that. And, sometimes people are off in left field. I got the vibe, and I think you guys have a very unique sound, and it's hard to compare it. I would probably say, if I had to, a combination of Judas Priest and Trouble.
Trouble? Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I love both of those bands. Again, hard to pinpoint, but Trouble and their dynamic is great. And obviously Priest, but
I've never heard that dynamic, but
Yeah.
I like it's good company to be in.
yeah.
I like it.
I was young, and I was born in 74. I probably got into metal around 86, 87. So I remember talking on the phone with Ben Meyer, and he would give me a lot of advice as a kid. Saw Nasty Savage as a kid. So I was around that timeline. We played with Brutality, we played with Eulogy, and so I think I was just right at that timeline where I may have missed the play out time for you guys. What was the timeline where you guys, not to say you hung it up, but it was getting more challenging and
Well, the shift was from covers to originals.
Yeah.
That's where things kind of changed, I think, for us. And that was in 84.
okay.
Because that's when the band at that point had been playing, a lot of the clubs and just, doing the rounds and, going through just the challenges that go along with playing clubs and people, in their early 20s getting older and starting to go different directions. And it kind of like almost stopped around 83. And that's when I had called Doug. I had actually gone up to college at that point, and another drummer, Brian Law, had stepped in. Actually, I stepped aside from the band in the summer of 1982 because I was a senior in high school, and they were playing the clubs, as Doug mentioned, that were, they'd play till 6 a.m. because they'd play a gig at a club.
Sometime we get the Bottle Club gig.
Go to the Bottle Club play from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Wow.
And it's just like, I'm not doing that and going to school at 7:30. So I had stepped aside. Brian came in and they continued. And then it was when I had gone off to FSU and was talking to Doug, and I said, it was actually Ronnie, Galletti, who I had remained in touch with. And he was just telling me about all the stuff they were doing and with the fanzines. And the demos, their first demo, and it was just really inspiring. And I talked to Doug and said, hey man, what would you think about when I come back down for the summer, this is 84, and that we do a demo? And we were all on board with that. It was like, all right, cool. They had already worked up originals, some original songs.
Yes, we were actually allowed to sneak a few of those by in the club from time to time.
Right.
We played Metro, and we played Over the Rainbow.
Yep, Sword,
That
Terrible
was
Swift
pretty-
Sword. Yep.
It was pretty popular.
Yeah.
So that's when things kind of changed from playing those club shows as a cover band, even a metal cover band, to originals. Is that summer of '84, came down. We recorded the Metro Mercenaries single, and that was another decision that we had made, that we're like, okay, it's the norm to put out a cassette, but let's stand out from the crowd and go straight to vinyl ourselves. This is, all self-financed, of course.
A little more expensive, but it'll be worth it.
Right, just to grab that attention. And that's exactly what we did. Came down, we recorded in a little studio off of Nebraska, GDM Productions, and
Gary D. Michelle.
Yep, R.I.P. And put out the single. And then I had met with Ronnie, and he had given me his whole list of contacts, because that's how Ronnie is, and we broke that up, Doug and I, and I went back up to FSU, and from there I started, and from down here Doug started, and we took that list and started winging those singles, and some bios and photos.
Fanning out.
Yep, to the fanzines and magazines and radio stations. And then after 3 months or so, we were getting such good response that I'm like, oh shit, so I'm gonna move back down. So I did.
We have a special guest on the line. Guys, I got Ronnie, fucking nasty Ronnie, on the phone with you.
Yeah.
Nice.
What is up, brother?
Oh, man. Is it the trailblazing Siren from Brandon, Florida?
Now, I hope you were
Florida.
listening. I hope you were listening and heard the
You
props.
guys are lighting it on fire, man.
Awesome, brother.
Bro, we got Doug Lee in here. We got fucking Ed. Dude, thank you for calling in, man. So,
well, it's first off, man, it's really good to see Siren getting recognition they truly deserve. Excellent guitars, excellent vocals, the drums, the production, and it's just really good to see them holding it down, and getting great reviews on their album, and they're a class act, to put it that way.
Thanks, brother.
hell yeah, man.
Thank you, bro.
So from 80s metal to the generation now, Ronnie, where do you see us going with this? Because I think fucking the scene still has it, man. What you guys are out there pounding it.
41 years, man, still waging mayhem. We just played in Chicago at the Metal Threat, 50 bands in 4 days, and we were the third to the last band on Sunday night. Came on at 8 o'clock and in front of death metal bands and black metal bands, and Nasty Savage, old school Brandon metal. I mean, people, it was some scary metal and shit up there, man. I'm telling you, it was really cool because they were from Scandinavia and all over Europe, and this guy put together this, crazy stuff. A band played after us called Messiah from Switzerland, and those dudes were bad as hell, man. Really cool guys. The drummer was wearing his Nasty Savage shirt from '88 tour we did in Europe. But what I see is a lot of these newer bands, they just don't put on a show, or they just do the music, and they're great at that. But when Nasty Savage comes on stage, it's a little different, and it grabs their attention, and it's like storytelling 101, man. And they got to come along for the story, the ride, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And that's what we do, man. And that's what I enjoy, is communicating with people, and to get to a level of communication where they're into it and they're riding. I say, is everybody in? Is everybody in? I start that right from the beginning. So where it's going with the passion of the musicians, the people putting the music together. And, that's what it's really about. It's the passion that you have for what you do, and what you do when you have it on the stage or in the studio. You got to make the most of it. I was listening to a CD by Henry Rollins, right. And it was an audio CD, but he told the history of how he was like hanging out with the Black Flag guys, and he loved the band. He followed them. And next thing you know, they wanted him to be the singer, because the singer turned into a guitarist. So they needed to add a singer. And, man, the things that they did was unbelievable, being a punk rock band, going to England and being spit on by the hardcore punks in England nonstop. Right. Just the hell that they went through, passing out flyers and, not eating and just not having anywhere to stay. These kids today, they don't even know. I mean, we don't even know how hard it is. I mean, we survived it, but man, I'm telling you what, these kids today have it made, man. And if you listen to this Henry Rollins deal, man, you're going to go, wow. I thought Henry Rollins was successful and a punk rock legend, but you know what? for years and years and years, they sacrificed. And that kind of says it all for what we're doing right now. I mean, I'm 61 years old and still smashing television sets and still bleeding on the stage. And, it's still mayhem, dude. It's just till I die, it's going to be mayhem. And just like Siren, and they're rejuvenated, it's killer. It's great.
So what are the possibilities? And I think this is a great way to get everybody back into the metal scene. I want to see you and Ed Aborn in a wrestling rink at Brass Mug.
Oh, hell no. I'm not getting it.
He's
a pro.
At least like a 1 round, just throw him against the fucking wall or something. And
He's got a representative. His name is Jericho.
Yes,
and then
exactly. I'll throw my man in.
I mean, but that's not really what we're about.
He's got somebody to train him. Come on.
We're not really about that. I mean, we're just doing heavy metal and what we do. I mean, if it was some kind of crazy promotion, but it takes a good promoter to do that, and it's kind of far fetched there, brother.
That describes my show completely. So you're right on point.
Well, dude,
you must be drinking then.
That's right, brother. Drinking with Drew. That's what we do.
That's right, drinking with Drew.
Yeah.
Hey, Ronnie, man, this is Ed. I just want to say, man, we are absolutely on the bus to the old school with you, and you are driving that bus, man. And we can't thank you enough for everything you did for us back in the day, all the way through to today, man. We love you.
Man, that's so awesome, Ed. And I found this box in my garage because I was finally cleaning my garage out to make more square footage space to put more stuff in there. And I found this box, and inside the box was the Wage of Mayhem fanzines. And I found number 3, and it had a full page for Siren merchandise and the whole idea. I don't know if you even saw that one, but I was going to take a picture and show you. I still have to do that.
Do it.
But, that's what it was about, man, is networking. And I was proud to know there was bands coming from Brandon, Florida, or have already been playing, but we were able to work together and because I knew the more bands that would come out of Brandon and Tampa and get recognition, it would only make a stronger united front for heavy metal in the Tampa Bay, Brandon area. And that's what happened. So every time a band came out and they said they were from Brandon or Tampa Bay, people would give them a double look and a triple look, and they'd really go, man, it's another one of those bands. And it was just a good thing because the success of the hard work. See, what happened is got with Ed Aborn, and he said, hey man, damn, what's your secret? How are you getting all this press? I said, dude, I will give you all the contacts. And I was happy to do it because I wanted to try him to see if he would do it. Right. Because anybody can open a door for you, but do you walk in and slam it shut behind you? And that's what Ed did. He wrote to every one of those contacts, and it helped the scene. It helped Brandon, it helped Tampa, it helped Siren, and it came back to helping Nasty Savage because it was a righteous thing to do. And, I was proud of the metal and the music that came out of Brandon and Tampa Bay. Until this day, man, Morrisound Recording and all the people that Ed networks with and records with, and he was just with Halloween, in the press box or some kind of VIP shit. He's a wheeler dealer, man, and he's a lightning bolt and a big part of what the success has been for the metal scene in Florida as well.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah. Well, dude, like I said, I thank you. You've always been so unselfish, and you were the one paving the way and showing it can be done, not just for us and Oblivion, but I mean, I guarantee, your brothers in Obituary, you were also the light that they were also working towards, and now they're legends themselves. So
it's amazing you bring up that story because we were just talking about that same story earlier.
Yep.
And then here you are on the phone.
I had a surprise for you guys. It was a little late.
Outrageous.
Well, I don't know if I told you the story about Obituary, but I was at home at my mom's house when I used to live at home with my mom and dad. And my mom goes, Ron, there's 2 boys at the door. They want to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. So I open the door, and it's John and Donald Tardy on their bicycles. And they go, are you Nasty Ronnie? And I go, yeah. He goes, well, we're John and Donald Tardy. We want to know how to start a band. I swear to God.
Nice.
And I was like, dude, these guys are smart as hell. They came directly to the source of the metal marketing guy for metal, you know, in the Tampa Bay area. And I was like, hell yeah, brother. And we went to Lithia Springs. I took him to Lithia Springs in my 70 Chevelle, and we threw the Frisbee for about 5 hours, and we just hung out. And at the end of the day, they were set and ready to go. And, you know, look at the work ethic and brilliance and just book smart and common sense that they have as legends now. But there was a lot of those guys in the early days that were at our concerts and shows that were inspired so much that they took it to another level.
Right.
And that's incredible because, I mean, here they are watching these bands and Nasty Savage or whatever, and the mayhem and just the pure mayhem, and now they just took it to a pure another level, and that's what really started death metal and extreme metal and Morrisound and Scott Burns and man, there was legends were coming to Tampa Bay to record in Morrisound studio, and you know, look where it's at now with the Obituary, Deicide, Death, you know, Chuck and those guys used to come to our practice, and before they were even in the band, before Mantis.
Wow.
So there's awesome. A lot of history. There's a lot of history there, and it's rich history. And everybody in that room with you is part of it too, man. And you know, Todd Grubbs, what a freaking guitar player he is, and Hal, you know, and Doug Lee's just doing his thing, you know, and of course Ed. But you know, it's those metal mercenaries, man, that were part of the scene and are still in it and rejuvenating it. You know, they did a movie that went all, you know, millions of hits or views and stuff. Of Chris Jericho. You know, not just, it doesn't happen by luck. It's kind of hard work and making things happen in a parallel line, man. You know, it's really great to see it, and it's rejuvenating me to get inspired to write new music. And you know, we're working on new Nasty Savage music right now, and man, it's some heavy stuff. We got bookings for Europe and LA again, and we got a lot of stuff going on. But it was really a pleasure to play in front of a bunch of captivated young death metal, black metal dudes in Chicago, because they didn't know what they were in for. I guaranteed that I was going to burn images in their brain, and then the music alone is powerful enough and different from everybody else that I think we captivated them from the front when they got in the bus, the whole ride on the bus, and when we dropped them off at the end off the bus. You know, they won't forget it, and that's what I thrive on now, is to communicate and to reach that thing when you know people are dialed in. You know, It's really cool.
Man, when Nasty Ronnie testifies, everyone is.
Fuck yeah, man.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
It's just a natural thing, man. You know, I'm down to earth as hell, regular guy, but when it comes time to go on stage, you just gotta, when it's your chance to have the stage, for me, you know, you just got to make the most of it. And, you know, it's just something I've always done. And it's like being a performer, you know, and that's all I know, you know.
Fuck yeah.
Never really was a singer. I just played one on stage. That's what I said.
Fucking
I'm
awesome,
sure
man.
people say that too, you know. Oh yeah, that guy can't sing. But you know, I don't care what people say because I just do what I do, you know.
There you go.
You just got to do what you do, man. You know.
Absolutely.
That's what it's all about, brother.
Oh,
yeah, and you know, I'm looking forward to more. The Oblivion guys are doing stuff, and Frank's label. I might have to talk to Frank too about something that's
Frank would have you in a second on there. He's trying to get every Brandon. Doug was just saying he's trying to get every Brandon band ever.
And
you know,
that's
onto
smart
the
on his part.
He loves Brandon metal, dude. He loves it.
I mean, he's such an amazing guy, man.
Yep.
You know, and you know, it's just people like that are part of the metal world. That it's just about people. You know, it's just about people, and there's great people in it. And I love the camaraderie of the fans and the kids, and the knowledge from thrashers in Mexico to Ohio to you know, Holland. You know, they're all very smart and intelligent, and it's almost like a parallel with what I do with the biker community. Very loyal, great brotherhood. They support each other, and they have a common cause to have the fun times and enjoy themselves to something they really enjoy. And it's really honesty. It's real honest stuff. It's real people who do anything to help you, and I see it at the shows. I see it. It's just a great thing, man, and why not enjoy it, guys, while we can, right?
Fuck
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man.
It's a family.
For sure.
It's fun.
Ronnie, Brett, thank you so much for calling in and sharing this night with us. We had Siren in, and our buddy Jason Stallworth set this up and was hoping I could get you on here, man, because you were definitely an influence, and in the documentary I could tell that you really cared about Brandon and the metal scene, and Brandon and Siren was definitely a part of that.
Man, I really appreciate you thinking of Nasty Savage, and for me today, to be part of this conversation. And anytime I can do that, I'm always available to you guys. Anything you need.
We love you, man.
Yeah, man.
I love you guys, man.
All right, Ronnie. Take care, brother. Talk to you soon. Be safe out there.
All right, wage mayhem.
Yeah.
Wage it, brother.
Hey, you know what? I'm in Vero Beach right now at an antique mall, at the Wildwood Antique Mall, and I'm working my booth all day for like 8-10 hours. And I'll be here tomorrow, too. I brought a whole van full of new stuff. So it's a lot of work, but I really love it. And
awesome.
That's what I'm doing today.
That sounds amazing.
Ronnie does like 18 things at any given time. It's like, I got a successful media company over here.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Nah, man.
All right, brother. Be safe, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. All right, be safe.
Peace.
All right, guys. I had to bring that in, man.
Wow.
That's awesome. We love Ronnie, man.
It was supposed to happen 30 minutes ago, but you know how shit goes.
Hey,
You
it
know,
happened.
Yeah.
it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
And you can tell, I mean, even as we talked about it just in the course of our conversation, this is exactly who he is.
yeah,
You
man.
know,
He's
he
fucking amazing.
legitimately does not keep all of his resources to himself and be like, no, I worked hard for these and we're going to make Nasty Savage successful.
Did, but now I'm going to give the ball to somebody else
Right, that's
and
right.
see if somebody else can run with the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
That's what he
did.
said in the movie.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
awesome.
somebody-
Yeah.
And
I
that's what
wanted
he
to
does.
say that, but I didn't think I could get his voice. Give somebody else the ball to run with.
I'd say somehow,
See
for
if
some,
they was
for
gonna
some
do it.
reason, your Ronnie is Dusty Rhodes.
That's where I'm at, brother. That's where
awesome.
I am.
But no, we love Ronnie like a brother, and that's what he was saying.
Gopher Brothers?
Yeah, he described it, man. Metal is a family, and when you're together with a bunch of metal people, it's like it's the same thing we experienced over in Germany. That was like, shit, this is incredible. There's thousands of people here, all wearing vests and bands, and just having a party and enjoying the same thing we all love.
It's like walking off the plane into 1985.
Right.
Over here, right?
Right.
Because they're not as fickle as we are.
Yep.
Both
They
like
still feel the same way as they
Right.
did in 1985.
Yep.
It's like we were pulling up to the pre-show party and everybody was running out to the van. It was,
Right.
It was insane.
It's awesome.
Yeah, but dude, thank you
How
for
did they even know
calling
we're
Ronnie in.
here?
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. So
Yeah, we-
publicizing shows back then compared to today, what are your thoughts? Easier or harder? And I say that because
Different.
I didn't find out Voivod was playing until 2 days before they were here.
Right.
Which is, with as much social media that is around these days, it still sucks.
You'd think it'd be better.
You would think.
I think it's just what Doug said. It's different because it's more convenient but more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because back then the scene was a tight knit scene, and you only had a couple of avenues where you could find out about a lot of gigs coming in. You looked at whatever the magazines, Music Magazine or Players or whatever the ones at the time, because I have issues of those old magazines, and it's crazy, man, just to see all the shows. And that's how you found out, because they were advertised. It's like, oh, Priest and Megadeth playing over in Lakeland Civic Center, or that's how you found out about it. Whereas now it's like you have to kind of search it out because there's not a single source of it, and unless you're really tight with your community and people are like, hey man, Voivod's coming into town.
Radio had a bigger presence in that
absolutely.
back then too. I mean, I'm not saying all the time, but occasionally you'd hear about a show on the radio. Even the more even some of our shows were advertised on the radio sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of it had to do with being in school and all your,
If you're in
your
school,
friends
that's
would
a whole
show
other
up
thing.
and,
Yeah.
Well, and it was a scene too, so everybody talked amongst themselves in the back rooms of the scene. So that was helpful too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, you see a lot of the group pages and business pages, like pages and Instagram, and I think it's just flooded. I think everybody is just flooded with information
You're
right
right.
now.
It's too much information to process for most people. It's like an ocean, and you're out there fishing with a little hook in a whole ocean. So you almost need something to draw everybody to your hook. But I mean, it's just a giant field of information if you don't.
So Jason, you have an email list. How did you set that up? And what are I know you're kind of a little marketing genius over there. What did you do to set your email list up?
I wouldn't say genius, but learning. I think it's important for bands and artists to use some sort of email service to capture leads. And we're talking, marketing talk now, but let's say, you have an album, let's say you have a YouTube channel, you've got your social media out there. You also want to point people towards your email address. Hey, sign up here, like on your website. You can give that call to action on your YouTube channel. If you have a YouTube channel, do that and give something of value, right? To get them into your email, give them a reason to get into your world and a reason to come into that. And then from there, you've got the most important piece of real estate that you could have from that person, again, their email, right? And you can continue to market to them. And that's a good way to send the word out. Hey, we're going to be in your town, we're going to be in this area. Real quick, another way is, we talked about social media, how there's an influx of information. I don't say the only way, but one of the ways to get over all that is to run paid advertising. And that's something a lot of bands I don't think know about.
The third option is you write "Drinking with Drew" on Laura's titties, and you have her run down Clearwater Beach.
Yes, that's the way.
So
Yes,
that's option number 3. Just in case you need to know, kids. But yeah, it's just difficult. I was kind of disappointed. If I would have missed the Voivod show and just out of the blue not known it was, I would have been so pissed.
Mm-hmm.
right.
And I'm just like, how am I just now seeing this? And I sent Laura a message. I'm like, concert,
Right.
Wednesday night, we're going to be there. She's like,
Yeah,
what?
that would have been a shame because that was a great show.
Yeah, it was so, I was just like, man, bringing back the memories. My back used to not hurt the last time I saw them. So.
I remember when we were out there, sending demos and things out. I remember seeing their name a lot back then. They were popular even back then.
Yeah. And I mean, it's funny because the vocalist mentioned their, prog metal last night. And I'm like, death metal fans still respected Voivod so much, even though they're not death metal, they just kind of stood out in their own little genre, but man, they were fucking amazing. Laura fell in love with the other band. What was it?
Imperial Triumphant.
Okay.
Yes. Look them up. They're great.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, the marketing is important. What do you think would have happened if Chris Jericho did not get involved? Different world for you guys right now?
Yes and no, because Jericho didn't. He wasn't the catalyst for anything other than the documentary.
Yeah, you were going to Germany no matter what.
Correct.
Like
So
Jericho had nothing to do with that. You guys were billed on the show. You were going
100%, and that was that had already been set in motion. As you see. As shown in the film, which is called "I'm Too Old for This Shit." By the way,
and I'll put the link on our page when we post it.
Cool.
Or how do you do it, Jason? The link is here.
There you go. Yeah, it's right up here, and then poof, it magically appears.
Visual aids.
Once that process got started, and with different fans reaching out at the same time, and all the things that happened, especially our good friend now, Frank Headbanger, who played a very important part in not only our resurrection, but is also the owner of the label now that our album's on. And so, yeah, that ball had already gotten started, and we were probably 3 months in already to starting to rehearse. And that was after trying to figure out who was going to be in this band. How can we pull together as an original lineup as possible for this? And it was about 3 months in that I had that conversation with Jericho. We were just chatting one day, and I was like, dude, you're not going to believe this. Do you remember me ever mentioning my band Siren from back in the day? And he's like, yeah, I think so. Because he had a high school band called Scimitar, and it was the same kind of thing. It's like, okay, that was then. And then in the 20 years at that point, 25 years that I'd known him, we hadn't, it never really was a subject other than, yeah, my band was Siren. Then there you go. And so it was talking to him at that point. I said, you're not going to believe this, man. This is what's going on. And I explained to him, about being asked to reunite, and they're going to fly us over to Germany. And the first thing he says is, he goes, listen, man, I don't mean to be rude, but, is anyone going to care? And I said, dude, that's exactly what I said to the promoter, to Oliver. And he assured me that, people would recognize us.
Right.
And recognize the band. And so we talked about it a little more, but it wasn't until the next day he called me back and said, he's like, man, I can't stop thinking about this because, one, I don't think it's going to go as easy as you may hope it will, because I know, the realities of trying to do this kind of thing, especially if it's something you've never done, the international travel and trying to coordinate everything.
The anal searches when you get to the airport.
Right, exactly.
Very challenging.
Right. And he said, but he goes, whether this is, a total triumph or a total shit show, it's a story I want to see. Mm-hmm. And then that's when he said, what would you think if I paid to have a documentary crew come in now, start coming alongside of you now? I'll pay for them to go to Germany with you and document everything as it happens. I said, dude, we're going to live it.
So what's it like waking up and there's a photographer like sitting at your bedside and you're trying to like celebrate like Joe's anniversary and, get some whoopee time?
Well, thankfully, so the guy who is the main filmmaker, his name is Nathan Mowry, and such a cool cat. Young guy who was like 26 at the time. He had done a couple of videos for Jericho's band Fozzy, and one of them, like the Judas video, which has like 45 million views or something. Mm-hmm. Just great, young, innovative filmmaker. And so that's who he hired to be the primary person to capture this. And it was awesome, man, because he came down, brought one of his assistants with him, started capturing what we were doing, getting some interviews, and came down.
Well, this whole idea was based off, you wrote a book, and the book wasn't kind of planned, it just kind of happened.
Yeah, that was because, so to back up further, it was in late 2015 is when literally in the course of a month, I have got several messages on Facebook saying, hey.
Is that from Frank Headbanger?
One of them was. But they were literally from Russia, South America. There were different, Germany, different places. And they were saying, hey, are you Ed Aborn, the drummer for Siren? And I'm the only Ed Aborn on Facebook. So that makes it easy.
Oh, now there's going to be 20,000. Thanks.
Yeah, all kinds of fake accounts.
Just because you said that.
I'm going to go make one right now.
So yeah, they found me.
Put drinking would on your boobs. Profile photo.
And so I said, yeah, that was me. And they're like, okay, hey, I'm a big fan of the band. This is generally what they said. I'm a fan. Do you have any of the original, merch or singles or anything, and what's going on? And I said, I was like, well, you know what? By profession, I'm a software engineer, so I type really fast. I'm a nerd. So I was like, you know what? Just for fun, I'm just going to pour out all my memories of the beginning of band, all the stuff they're asking me about.
Okay.
And just get it out there to have for fun. So I did it about 3 evenings. And then, at the end, it was like, oh, shit, I accidentally wrote a book because it was like 30 pages long. And I was like, at that point, I've got a bunch of personal photos. And as I was doing that, I was reaching out to the former band members, too, to be like, hey, man, am I remembering this correctly when this happened and this happened? Except for Doug. I could not find Doug. Doug was like way off the grid. I mean, even people like, and that's just kind of, he's always been low key and always been his own person. And, enjoys his privacy. Although he has been pulled out of his shell by Jason Stallworth, into the world of social media, which is very cool. And so while I was doing that, I could not get a hold of Doug. And it wasn't until after it was done and I put in the pictures and just made a PDF of it, sent it to the people who were asking the questions. And then to all the local friends who are still, I was like, hey, I did this if you want to read it and reminisce on some stuff.
So in the documentary, you mentioned that Doug had I don't know, a bad taste in your mouth. I mean, what was your opinion, Doug? Like, was it because he wasn't able to find you and you weren't mentioned in the book? Like, what was the reason you had the bad taste in your mouth?
Did I say that?
There was something about that. Yeah.
I don't know. There were just some things in there. Everybody's recollection of, how things transpired, I guess they're a little bit different.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, that's not exactly right, but
yeah, because I didn't have any. Like I said, I had tried to find Doug,
mm-hmm.
but it wasn't until after it was done when a mutual friend who I didn't realize was actually currently in touch with Doug said, "Hey, I'm in touch with Doug, do you want me to send this to him?" So I said, "Yeah, please." And here's my cell. So after that, it took a couple months, and
then called you and said, "What the fuck is this shit?"
Yeah, that's what I said.
And then
first couple times I read it, I was like, I'm not going to call him.
But yeah,
that chick that gave me a lap dance had red hair, not blonde hair. Jesus, get your facts straight.
But yeah, so it took a couple months, but then we got together. Had shared some Chick-fil-A, which makes everything better. So
yeah, it did.
And then that's what really started to rekindle. It was like, hey man, there's no hard feelings. I don't have any hard feelings. I know Doug didn't have any hard feelings.
If it wouldn't have been for Chick-fil-A, though, it would have been totally off.
Right.
If he would have said Burger King, you'd been like,
none of this would have happened if we were, at Wendy's or something.
Right.
And
thank you. Have a new sponsor.
So but that was what kind of was the genesis of that, and then things really got rolling once Doug and I started to talk again and kind of rekindle that friendship, because that's when Frank Headbanger was like, oh shit, they found Doug and Ed and Doug are talking.
Did Frank kind of fill you in on the following you had over there? Like, did you just not know, or did he kind of say, dude, you guys have to do this?
No, a little bit, but he was such a super fan. I mean, Frank is such a super fan. He made his own back patch for Siren, back in the 80s, because that didn't exist, back then. And made his own Siren license plate for his car, in Germany.
He made a few things.
Yeah.
Some of them his dad didn't like.
Yeah. And it was like, it was his dream to see us play one day. And he was always pestering and, petitioning Oliver Weinsheimer, the promoter of the Keep It True Festival, to please have Siren get together. And it just didn't work out, through the years. But once Frank found out that Doug and I were talking, and I was in contact with Frank, and now I was in contact with Doug, he went back to Oliver and he said, listen, we found Doug Lee, and, they're talking. So that's when Oliver reached out and said, hey, would you like to reunite and come and play it, Keep It True?
Okay.
And that's what started Doug and I down the road of, okay, let's talk about this.
Very cool. And some of the members you spoke with, but when it came time to get people behind the music and actually do some sound checking, you refresh my memory. Who was the one that he was ill?
Ed Hauser.
Ed Hauser. Okay. So is he doing okay? Or
as far as I've known, every once in a while we'll talk on Facebook, but yeah, as far as I can tell, he's still doing all right. And as you saw in the documentary, that was something that was very unexpected.
Right. Like 30 days before you guys left. I mean,
yeah, exactly. And his body was really torn up from being a helicopter pilot, for so many years and all the landings and stuff. And so, yeah, it was very unfortunate that he had to step aside, so soon before we were about to go. But having a surgery that's scheduled the week before on your spine is like, yeah, that might not be,
right,
the most ideal. But yeah, so once Doug and I had the initial conversations of, is this something we even want to pursue? Because it was largely, our decision to say, yay or nay. We could have been like,
have either one of you ever been to Germany?
Oh yeah, Doug.
Yeah, I'd been there quite a few times.
Okay.
I had some idea of the fan base that was there, but I think everybody was surprised the level when we finally did get there.
Yeah.
Of what it was like. It was
it
beyond
looked amazing.
Crazy.
Beyond any hopes that we had, any ideas or dreams that we had. It was way beyond that.
Right. So when you get out there, it seemed to go okay, smoothly, but what was your biggest fear? Like just a little anxiety, or what was going through your heads?
I mean, personally for me, this is not something that I had done myself, playing in front of thousands of people, in a foreign country. And so that was my main thing. It was just, okay, once we all get up there and we're on the stage and, there's those thousands of eyes on us, how is it going to go? Is anyone just going to blank out?
Freeze up.
Doug, have you ever just forgotten lyrics on stage?
Oh yeah, lots of times.
That would be my fear. It's
but
just
not at that show. But
I would go out there and just.
I have in the past. It's easier to remember lyrics of stuff you wrote yourself than remember other people's lyrics. But I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
Then you just
make some shit up.
You switch the verses around. Yeah. Last verse first verse last. Make some shit up, like you said.
You become Jay-Z all of a sudden. That motherfucker in the front row. He's got some cornrows.
That's it. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Did any of your shows that in Germany were the fans singing the lyrics along with you? Like they knew all of your songs and all the words?
They knew the songs that were just written. Like they were singing the words to Tornado of Blood.
Okay.
I had to go through it to think of the name. But yeah, and I was like, how do they know that?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We brought copies of that to the festival to sell. It hadn't even been released yet.
Wow.
People were already singing it.
That's something that's actually a really cool point. The festival, as amazing as it is, wasn't like a single thing and that was it. Everything else that started at that point was also just incredible. Like once we agreed to reunite and perform at the festival and that word got out and was announced, through the festival, labels started reaching out to us to say, hey, we know you're going to be playing. Mm-hmm. We'd like to put together an anthology package, for you to have available for sale once, at the actual festival. So this is probably 6 months, before. So we talked to a number of the labels who were reaching out and went with two of them, a label called Underground Power Records, which is just, a great company. And they put out, I have a visual aid.
Okay, let's do it.
Show and tell time.
Yes. So they put out this package.
Oh, cool.
Which is the
nice.
There we go.
Yep.
It's Up from the Depths. Now I won't take this out because I could literally not wrangle it with my hands if I did. This is a triple vinyl package with a replica of our debut single. So
wow,
they
of which we spoke earlier.
Yeah, so that's the original single. But it said this triple vinyl.
That's awesome.
It's just massive, and it has all of our demos, the first album, No Place Like Home, unreleased material, just a ton of stuff. It was incredible.
New stuff that we wrote just for that.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because that's
cool.
the thing. As we were
One whole side of a record.
coming together and starting to work the songs up, we realized like, hey, this is actually a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and show the people that we're not just everything that happened in the past.
We
that
still
we
got it.
Yeah, write some stuff. So we did. We wrote 3 new songs and then re-recorded one of the Dead of Night track. Okay,
That's exactly what we did.
and it was just very well received, and that's what Doug was just mentioning about the fans. That song Tornado of Blood debuted on that package, and the fans were already familiar with it as we played it right at Keep It True, as well as all of our old stuff.
So I have a Mercenary's Fate pulled up.
Okay.
I want to kind of play a clip.
Is that new?
Yes, that's our new album for
I'm
those
just kidding.
Yeah, that's the album that just came out.
How you liking that blueberry beer, Doug?
I love it.
Is it good?
You want another one?
We have another one. You done with it?
I'm still working on
Okay.
it.
Let me know.
I've been doing too much talking and not enough drinking. So.
What's it called? Muffins, stuffing, or something?
The Midnight Muffin.
Midnight muffin.
Stuff in your muffin.
So
It's the same colors as the album.
Nice.
it is actually.
There you go.
It's very cool.
New sponsor.
Yeah. Do you guys have a preference on what you want me to throw in?
Throw in the first track, man. Soulbreaker. It's a good representation of what we're about.
Great.
All right, cool.
I can't believe that. Is that a coincidence?
See, to me, that's fucking metal, man. Like that is metal. It's like when you hear that shit, you just want to fucking get at it, man.
Well, I know ever since we have been back together, it was always a primary focus to remain true to what our influences were, but also give it, make it sound Siren. And to be honest with you, what makes a Siren song is Doug, because it's his
That voice, man.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
voice,
It's unmistakable when you hear it. Even if people say, okay, yeah, I can hear Halford in there. I can hear, everything. I can hear Udo, Metal Church, just all kinds of different things. But there is just something. It is the unifying thread through every recording since 1984 that makes a Siren song a Siren song.
Yep.
A Siren album. And it is, I think, on this album that you just played a little snippet from, which is A Mercenary's Fate, which we tied. Again, our initial single was Metro Mercenary. A Mercenary's Fate actually picks up that story 40 years later and, just makes it, bookends it. That's what we wanted to do.
How do you guys do your songwriting? Do you do lyrics first, then music, or vice versa?
It's been more riff first than lyrics, kind of that have the feel, to go along with whatever that riff is kind of inspiring. Our guitarists, Todd Grubbs and Hal Dunn, write some incredible riffs. So for this album, for example, I think there was something like 40,
Yeah.
or even song semi-arrangements.
Wow.
that were put into the hopper as we were going through and saying yes, and then we literally would take all of those and be like, okay, let's see, this one we ranked them, and then being the computer nerd that I am, I'm like, all right, here's how that's sorted out. When we rank them, these are the top 12, and then we took those, started to work them up, and then the cream of the crop of those is what made it to the album. So as the songs go from riffs to arrangements, lyrics, and then with Doug and I starting.
So do we see like a never released album coming up where you have like songs that didn't make the cut and you decide to release them one day?
If Frank had his way, there'd probably be a couple of those in the hopper.
Right? Yeah.
Frank likes all that stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, there's nothing.
I never heard this one.
There's only a couple that made it to the point that were like close enough to be like, okay, we knew at a certain point in this case, there was 11 songs that were.
What do they say at the White House? We'll circle back to that one.
Yeah.
The first time you guys got back together and you went in and you said, okay, guys, let's be a band again. Mm-hmm. How was that? How did that go? Did you play 30 seconds and say, wait, or 5 seconds? Or did you get through a whole song? Like, how did that go? Because I tried this with my band.
It was actually pretty amazing.
Was it?
Mm-hmm. Especially when Greg came back into the fold.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had supposedly not played for a long time.
Okay.
And it's like, but this is going to be rough.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
Did you go out and have to? Oh, yeah.
I'm like, my chair is automatically reclining.
Ed,
where's the other button?
Ed dies in recliner accident on the Drinking with Drew show.
Yes, exactly.
That was the auto chill button.
You guys, you had a great run. And
yeah. I'll be folded up here.
That's the way it works. So
we actually didn't we start at my place, like with the first getting together? Because we didn't start with in Todd's rehearsal space.
Not with Greg.
No, not even with Ed, I don't think.
You sure?
Yeah, because I don't think we went live and loud until we started to work together. But to answer your question, the reason, as Doug mentioned, that it went really well, because before we actually got together, we had all started working the parts.
Okay.
So, individually we had, a month.
So let that be a lesson to you band guys. Yes. It does matter when you practice at home on your own.
Yes.
It really matters when you get together. I know people think it doesn't, but it does.
Very true.
Yeah. So when we got together, it was actually
practice at home
at my place. So I've got a home studio, so we were able to come in and then rehearse electronically. So I've got the electronic drum kit. The guys plugged in through pods and Kempers and stuff, and we were able to that way really hear what we were doing and record it. Because then everything's hooked up to Pro Tools, so I just.
Right.
We just recorded everything so we could go back and kind of analyze it and be like, all right, well, this part's fucked up, or this sounds great. And it was actually really encouraging because when we got going, it was like, you know what, maybe we're not going to screw this up as bad as, we might think.
That's cool. I mean, I tried to do that with my old band and I sucked at it. It was my bad because our bass player remembered every fucking riff out there. The drummer, he was great, besides getting hooked on crack. But my issue was I just couldn't remember it. It was 20 something years and we played and I'm like, man, I know it goes like this somehow, but so I applaud you guys for being able to get it back together and at least remember it. That's the hardest part if you haven't played.
Well, thank you. Well, they put a lot of work in, both Hal and Todd. And again, as we mentioned, Ed Hauser, the bass player who was on our Iron Coffins demo from 1985, had been working with us for several months and then ran into the health issues. Mm-hmm. And coincidentally, Greg Culbertson, who I had reached out to previously and wasn't able to get a hold of.
For years.
But literally the last time I'd spoken to him was like 2005.
Wow.
And I left messages and this and that. So I was like, okay, he's in the wind somewhere. So, we were working with Ed. And then literally a couple weeks before Ed had to step aside is when Greg called out of the blue and was like, hey man, I know it's been a minute. And it was like, 12 years.
Now, is he going to go back to Germany and get the cat that was following around?
The cat. Oh, and that's the thing, man. The movie, it is what happened. What you see is what happened on screen is how things went down, and who you see on screen is who they are. And you can tell, Greg he's the heart of the movie. He really is, because he's such a simple, kind guy, wears his heart on his sleeve, and, prone to getting lost, as you might have noticed, which is very true. But when he came on board, literally from the first rehearsal we had, that video's on YouTube. I recorded, video of that, of us running through some of the songs from the demo that he was on, and we're like, holy shit, it just gelled. And, that was weeks before we were supposed to fly over. Then we were just hurrying up trying to get him a passport and that kind of thing.
So when I watched the documentary, I realized we were at the Nasty Savage show at the Brass Mug.
Oh, so you were there?
Yeah.
We
were there.
That's awesome. Oblivion and Savage and us. Yeah. Oh, very cool.
We were at that show and I'm like, holy shit, we were there.
Yeah, I think Savage was going to South America.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And then we were going over to Germany like at the same time. Yep. And it's like, how fucking cool is it that, that time, 35 years later, the guys in bands, because they're our brothers. We're just,
Absolutely,
very much, we love them, like brothers. And I said several times to Austin and Ronnie, I was like, how cool is this that we're getting to do this now, from Brandon, representing and going out to 2 different parts of the world and playing the music that we love, and people are actually looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's it like playing Not for Pussy? Because when you're in the 80s and you're, 15 and 16, 17, you want the chicks to show up. And now you're married and people are kind of like, you play for a different reason. What's the head mindset that you're out there playing now? What is it? It's got to be because you love the music.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just love being a part of it.
Yeah, and just the fact that we can, and that we're making music together. It's like people ask all the time.
After all these years.
Yeah, they're and the comments on the movie, which when it was released just recently on YouTube for free, and got like 150.
Maybe you still are playing for pussy. I don't know. I'm just assuming. Okay,
but it was.
Don't cause divorces. Stop talking.
It's the.
I know that's why Jason plays.
The feedback that we got is so many people saying, wow, this is, I remember I had a band. I'm so happy for you guys. And, this really touched me and made me.
It hits a note with a lot of people.
And that's what it's about for us these days is it's not, we don't dream about fame and fortune or, we just got to get that record contract and then we'll be set. It's, man, we can hold up this new album, for example, and be like, this is some good shit. And we did this, we came together and wrote this and we can be proud of that. And that's its own reward. And it's the same thing for playing live. We have the opportunity to play live. That means that there's at least someone who wants to see us in some capacity, and we're going to have a good time and do it and enjoy it.
It's awesome. So what's the next 5 years of Siren?
I don't know, man. That's a long time when you cross over into the late 50s, early 60s era. I know what we've talked about before has been, we're pushing this album now. We want to promote it. We think it's the best thing. And, we don't, I don't think past the next couple of years.
When I see you guys on stage, though, Doug doesn't look like has any less energy.
For a man of 80, he looks fucking remarkable. No, but it's like, we certainly can do it. It's just a matter of, there's no secret that the metal scene is not what it was in 1985.
Right. Here.
We're not going to go out and find metal being played in 48 clubs around the area where you can go and do that any longer. So it has to be for an audience that, it makes sense.
But it's also, a lot of it is soundtracks for movie promotions and introducing that market and marketing music to that level.
Yeah, of course, anything that we can get like that with ancillary stuff would be amazing. But we're hoping to be able to go back to Europe next year, and that's what we're pushing for with the promotion of this album and talking to some of the festivals that we have been in contact with before to see, does it make sense for us to come out. And, we've got a strong album. The reviews have been incredible. We just got a 10 out of 10 review in Power Play magazine from the UK, which is a big magazine over there, and 9 out of 10s in Germany and Denmark. And it's like, all right, there is. And then plus with the movie, and that's to circle back, Doug, to what you said about Jericho. It's like, okay, yes, why nothing he did was the catalyst for any of this. What he did do is certainly a huge part of what we have been able to experience now, because, this is a movie that hundreds of thousands of people have seen. It's played on cable, and that's just something that is just beyond imagination when you think about it. I remember when it was playing on on Access TV, I watched it play just because it was like real TV, and there's commercials in it. So I was like, man, this is crazy to sit here and watch a movie about our band, Siren, being played on a national channel. And, I just think, wow, if the, 19-year-old me could come back and, say, hey, just so you know, in 2022, you're going to be sitting on your couch watching a movie about Siren on a national channel. I'd be like, holy shit, we must be rich and famous. Be like, yeah, about that.
You guys going to stay doing some local stuff for us losers like me that can't get out of
Germany.
Tampa?
Absolutely. I do see some local shows in our future.
I would say that Tampa still has a scene. You look at it compared to other scenes. I haven't honestly been to Austin. I hear that's big. But you look at what we have, Orpheum, Crowbar, Janus, Brass Mug. I mean, we have some good metal venues here.
The Floridian
now, I know. It's like, dude, I mean, I hope they continue to play metal bands there. I mean, that venue was nice. So I understand what it used to be, but to say it will come back, who knows? It might. You never know.
Who would have thought vinyl was going to come back
Exactly.
and be relevant again?
Good point. Great point.
I mean, anything's possible.
Exactly.
I mean, we'll just keep following through with our promotion and keep pushing it. And I think there's going to be some shows.
Very cool. Is there a particular band that you guys want to play with, and do you see you guys maybe partnering with?
Nothing in particular.
Okay.
Probably, maybe Oblivion.
I wouldn't mind playing with Oblivion.
Yeah, because Pat and Keith and those guys are, again, they're old school.
And plus, they're our label mates.
Exactly.
We're on the same label. We
So
play similar music, so
I'm going to brainstorm for a minute.
it makes sense.
Okay, because I had Must Not Kill in the studio a couple months ago. You guys in the studio. I think I'm going to do a Drinking with Drew show if you guys might be up for it. And we'll have some bands in that were on the show, and we'll do like a Drinking with Drew show at the Brass Mug.
Wow, that sounds
Yeah,
amazing.
With enough run-up, we're down for anything. So
Mark it.
When you say Drinking with Drew show, you mean like a show?
A show. You guys are going to go out and perform. It's going to be bands that have been on the show.
right.
So I need like another month to get some more bands on the show.
That's a great format. I like it.
Yeah. And it'll be metal bands, obviously.
Why not?
So.
Yeah, because that's the kind of thing that doing something like that makes sense. Whereas, it doesn't make sense for us to go out and play with just a hardcore death metal band. It's not our particular genre. Yes, they're both metal, but they're definitely
Different,
not the same. However, with a show like you're talking about, it's like, yeah, you've got the melodic, traditional heavy metal of Siren, and then another band who might be just a full-on
death metal
band.
That could work.
Yeah,
If it's a
because people
multiple
understand.
band show.
Yeah, people
I mean,
understand.
Laura and her tits will show up with Drink.
Well, that's,
I mean,
that's a
like,
half
she'll-
sellout right there.
Yeah, she'll be like right up
With
front
the
and center.
pasties.
That way, if you forget the lyrics, you just say boob, boob, boobs, boob, boob, boobs. You're great, We'll work it out. Let's do this, guys. I want to play another song, A Mercenary's Fate. That's, to me, can we play that one? Because that's,
Sure.
Yeah,
the band.
that's got some great bass work on it.
I still hear boop, 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 boopity boop.
To me, this is just when you're in the studio and recording this, you're laying down tracks. You're doing drums first, or doing the guitar. Are you guys just playing live and recording it?
Strangely enough, that's the one song that I actually wrote on the album. So
Okay.
I had a drum beat that I wanted to do, and I kind of had an idea in my head. So I laid down the drums and then laid down the guitars, and then got together with our guitarist Todd and said, okay, here's what I've got. It needs some help in the chorus and here in the bridge. And so it was kind of like, that was unusual. Whereas Todd, normally for the other songs, Todd and Hal would come up with riffs, usually to a click, or pieces of arrangements. And then we'd get that kind of worked out, and then I would play the drums, and then put that down, and then the guys would then play their parts to the drums that were done.
And Doug, you pretty much know what you've got going on, or do you have to adjust a little bit?
I'm learning and adjusting the whole time.
Then when it comes time to record the vocals, that's when Doug and I get together, and that's a whole thing into itself, as we talked about.
That's a whole different
with Jason
animal.
Because we just work really well together as a team. Because it's hard, man. It's hard as a vocalist to sing and hear yourself at the same time. And I don't mean your tone or what you're saying, but what's the energy of your performance? And to have someone who's sitting there listening to the performances you're doing and be like, oh man, I think you could go a little heavier on this one,
That knows what you can do, that knows
Right.
what you're capable of.
Right.
And understands how to get that performance too. There's a whole rating scale of different vocal techniques,
Yeah, we had lots of lingo. It was
colorful lingo.
to be like, yeah, I need a little more stank on that, It's like, and he would know, and he'd be like, how much? And like 85% stank? And I'm like, no, that's a little too much. Take it like 70. And he would do it. He'd be like, we had it so dialed in for this album that, after having done we did an album called Back from the Dead, and kind of got that working experience going. By the time we came to this album, it was like, putting on an old shoe. We were just like, yep, we know exactly how to communicate to get the best performance. And myself as the engineer who's responsible for putting all the pieces together, it's like, I know what I want to hear too. So, I need to make sure everything is covered.
So speaking of that, it's from Back of the Dead.
Yes, that is
The Sharpening.
The Sharpening, yeah, which was my tribute to the Hellion, as you can hear. You know, I was like, I've always wanted an intro that's like the Hellion, so I work with Todd.
Okay, very cool.
That. Yep. And
So-
then Escalade Serenade comes in after that. Right
What's your average recording time? You go into studio, you turn out an album in what, 5 weeks?
No.
Months?
No. Yeah, it's because it's done individually, and we're all working. You know, we've all got jobs and families and obligations. So
I hear bands that go in, they're like, "Yeah, we did this in 4 days." I'm like, "What? How can? I mean?"
Well, if you've got the luxury to work with your band all day, you know, every day for a few weeks, yes, you know, you can maybe
probably do that.
You can probably do that. But when you're talking about putting together songs as a collaborative process that is not sitting in the same room, sometimes it's more like, here are the parts. Okay, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? It's like, yeah, I like that. Let's put this over here, though. And then having that mapped out, once the process begins, this album was actually done pretty, I think it was from like March to June, maybe, like for the total recording time for all that's like drums, rhythms, bass.
Sounds about right.
And that's all in studio recording, or is that some at home? And
that's it. No, that's all like my place.
Your place.
Todd recorded
everything.
Yeah, his guitars at his place. Hal recorded his guitars at his place, and then they all come to me because I've got the master Pro Tools session, pull them all together and do the preliminary mixes, and then we took those sessions into Morris Sound and mixed with Jim
Very
Morris.
cool.
Because we also actually started vocal production at Todd's studio. We're about 5 songs in before we decided to go and start really fine-tuning at Ed's studio.
Morris Sound, man, what a great place. We recorded a 3-song demo there in like 1989 or something.
Oh, very cool, man. Who did you work with?
Scott Burns.
Legend.
Yeah. And, you know, it was great. We were probably 16 years old. And we went in and recorded this quick demo. And he's like, "Okay, you guys got to pay your bill." And I'm like, "I paid my money." And I looked at the drummer and he's like, "I'll get it to him." Matt, the bass player, "Oh, yeah, I paid mine." So we were almost paid up. He's like, "Okay, well, you guys, to get the full mastered copy, you got to pay your shit." And I'm like, he's like, "But take this cassette." You know, he gave us a little, cassette with a rough copy. Every single one of us fucking lost a copy. Nobody has a copy of our demo.
You didn't lose yours.
Everywhere.
I thought your dog ate it.
Oh yeah, my dog ate mine, but everybody like nobody has a fucking copy. So our buddy Jerry Mortallero, he was a good friend of the band, and he claims to still have a copy somewhere, and he's been saying that for 30 years now. We're like, "Dude, come up with the copy. Let's go. What the fuck?"
Let's hear it.
Right?
I know. It's like I have no way of playing it. I have nothing. So that sucks.
So totally lost.
It's totally lost.
The time.
Everything is lost. It sucks, man. So.
Oh man.
But it was a cool experience going there, and
absolutely.
That studio was amazing. Sucks they closed it, or at
Put
least
that guy on the spot.
moved it.
Find him. Put him on the spot. Make him look.
He's at the Brass Mug like every
All the
Friday.
time.
So I mean,
Where's the demo, dude?
hold that motherfucker down.
We'll help you get it.
Yeah. I texted him last night. I'm like, "You coming to Voivod?" "Ah, man, I'm supposed to." I'm like, "Okay."
I can't find the demo.
Yeah, while you're at home, look for that fucking demo.
Exactly. You're the only one that's got it.
It sucks, man. I miss recording. I mean, I didn't do a lot of it, but it was just always just going in the studio and
Good
laying
that you made
down.
it into there. That's
Dude, yeah.
Well, I lived literally 2 miles from Morristown growing up.
that alone.
In Temple Terrace or
Yep,
off of
Temple
off
Terrace.
Of Fletcher?
Yeah, I lived right at Fowler
Florida.
and 56, right over there, right off of Whiteway.
Oh,
They were
yeah.
there. They were there for a long time.
Mhm.
They moved from somewhere else when they
Florida.
moved to there.
Florida Avenue.
Is that where?
Oh,
it was
really?
Back
Oh
then?
yeah.
Before
The-
there?
the original was on Florida Avenue.
Really?
Near
Okay.
near Hillsboro,
Oh, I didn't know that.
and then
Yeah.
they built the place out in Temple Terrace.
Do you guys remember a place called Edwards Music? Bill Edwards. He was on 56th Street. He was probably 5 miles south of Morristown.
I do not.
I spent my childhood at his fucking music store, like literally.
I lived in Temple Terrace for a while. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So Bill Edwards, he is the designer of the lock tuning set that Eddie Van Halen used.
Oh, really?
And this is just what I'm being told by Bill Edwards back when I was 13 years old, is that he was supposed to make a deal with Eddie Van Halen to use that lock tightening set on the neck of his guitar. And apparently Eddie screwed him over and stole the idea from him and didn't pay him. And it was like some big ordeal. And I'm like, getting involved in that. So, but yeah, he was adamant about that. I'm like, "Bill, you're a little too upset." He's like, "I could be a billionaire." I'm like, but yeah, that's where we always bought. My mom, every Christmas, every birthday, that's where we bought all our gear from. Everybody's like, "Oh, go to Thoroughbred, go to, Edwards Music, get the crate 212 and, all that shit." I miss buying musical equipment, which, speaking of which, Jason, we got to go to your buddy's place.
Replay.
replay. Yeah.
Yeah, you can go up there. I just filmed a video with his name is Cliff. We call him Riff with Cliff, and I've been helping him with his YouTube channel as well.
And those who are wondering why Jason has a pillow in his lap,
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, if I take it off,
it's helping the
Look at
camera.
this.
Yeah, look at it.
Right. It's going to get all blurry.
Look,
Yeah.
there,
Oh, maybe not.
Maybe not. Oh,
Maybe the can's throwing it off.
maybe.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm on the Joe Cam.
Yeah, we have him on Joe Cam tonight, so it's a little blurry. One of these days, I'll get 5 $2,000 cameras in here. He has the shady $250 Sony. You're worth it, Jason. You're worth that Joe Cam.
I'm with it, yeah.
Sony.
But for 5 years, I know that's a long time frame looking forward. But really, man, 5 years goes by so quick. I don't know. Seems like time flies, obviously, when you're older.
A couple more albums, a world tour, maybe another movie. My solo album in there somewhere. That's coming soon.
Yeah, Todd and Doug have been working on some stuff, and
I would just like to go see you go do some karaoke.
Todd's got an album ready.
yeah, Todd's working on a solo album.
Yeah, karaoke. Let's do it.
Applebee's Thursday night, Riverview. Let's go, Jason.
Yeah, let's do it, man. I'm
In
up for it.
Riverview?
They do it tonight. What time is it? It starts in 20 minutes.
Oh, Jesus.
We don't even have karaoke at the Applebee's in Brandon.
So,
You guys are big time out
Laura,
here.
do you want to tell them how karaoke ended at Applebee's 3 years ago?
Well, it didn't end. They just got
A new karaoke
hosts.
DJ.
So apparently the previous host, what was his name? DJ Dollar Bill or
I call
something
him
like
DJ
that.
Porno.
Right.
DJ Dollar Bill.
He was like this young guy, whatever. He was there and he would always get there early and he would talk to everyone at the bar. And I guess at some point he started talking about the fact that he was in a porn. And he was, I guess, trying to get all of the lady patrons to look at his porn, watch his porn, whatever. So they warned him. They're like, you're here to DJ karaoke, not DJ your porn career. And I guess he didn't listen, so they canned him.
But we used to go up there and do karaoke, all the time. I love karaoke. But
So
apparently,
no more DJ porn?
No more
but
DJ porno.
but allegedly, they do still have karaoke.
Yes.
But, it's only on Thursday nights.
And you can't cuss. They will literally mute you.
And that's where I screw up because I don't know. I'm bad.
Who could do karaoke without cussing?
I know, especially when you're singing a song that should have a curse word in it.
Right.
And you're just repeating the freaking lyrics. I'm like, yeah.
Like you're supposed to censor yourself. Cuss words, you just like, and then you go to the next word.
It's like watching a football game. You gotta cuss.
Exactly. So I was like, well, whatever. They cut me off. But I noticed if you pay them $5, they put you up front.
Right. You can skip the wait line.
10 people waiting, and you pay them $5, they'll put you up front.
So you're saying you got kicked out of Applebee's like Ricky Bobby's dad?
Yeah. Which, ironically, the story behind this Applebee's is in 2004, I bought my first house over here, and there was nothing over here, like nothing in Riverview where we're at. Maybe that 7-Eleven, that was it. And they started building this Applebee's, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, we got an Applebee's. So I just happened to be the first one in the door. Literally the first one. I'm like, okay, 11 o'clock, you guys open? I'm sitting at the bar. I also closed the Applebee's that same night.
Wow.
So I was the first one in, the first one out.
Last one out.
I'm sorry, I always say that. First one in, last one
Yeah,
out.
I was there for 2 minutes.
I know. I always say first one in, last one out. I was obviously a little hammered. So that was now my shtick. I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing this. So at Longhorn Steakhouse, they opened that one. I was first one in, last one out. Mm-hmm. The
Texas Roadhouse.
Texas Roadhouse. First one in, last one out. They cut me off though. They're like,
They did. Yeah, I was at work. I met you there for dinner and you're like, I'm sticking this out. And I'm like,
this out.
nope, I'm going. I'm like, I'll come pick you up. And I think they closed at 10 o'clock or something. So I pull into the parking lot 10 o'clock and I'm waiting and I'm waiting.
There's one motherfucker
And I'm
at the
waiting.
bar and I'm just challenging this bitch. I'm like, I'm not leaving until you're leaving.
Right.
Like, and I was cut off. I was
Yeah.
drinking water. I was like, whatever.
Well, he went to go because he broke the seal. So he went to go to the bathroom and he stumbled on the way to the bathroom. And they're like,
I
oh,
did. You're talking about me.
you're
not the guy
done.
at the
Yes,
bar. Yeah.
you did. So that's why he was drinking water. And he refused to cash out until this person left. So I'm in the parking lot until almost 11 o'clock because he refused to leave.
Yep. Longhorn open. I got a photo of me and the whole staff and the Chamber of Commerce who cut the ribbon on the fucking place. I'm in the background.
Photo bomb.
Yeah. And I look like this. What was my...
Jesus.
So they have that photo up at Longhorn. So I did that first in, last out. So
It's still there, the photo?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like all the initial staff.
Yeah.
They have a
I'm gonna
photo
have to go
of it.
there just to see that.
It's the
now.
opening photo. They have all the fucking people there, all the staff, all the like Chamber of Commerce people. Yeah, it's like 30, 40 people in the photo.
see a pattern there. It seems like you could get some kind of a celebrity status.
I'm
Right?
trying.
Something going off of that.
I'm trying. We're working on it. So,
But it's only like the larger restaurants. Like you didn't do it for the IHOP.
Well, it doesn't.
When it was new.
Probably no fun to do it for the
No.
smaller restaurants.
no. I mean, there's a few I missed.
You don't have so many people to challenge. at
I
the
missed
smaller
Finn's. I
restaurants.
should have did Finn's.
Should have done Finn's. Yeah.
Jason, that's your peeps over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, play
That would have been a good one.
Oh,
Twice a
that
month.
Finn's.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. When's your next show over there?
I think I play the last Saturday and Sunday of this month of May, so I'll be there again.
I hear somebody's having a birthday.
Yeah, boy.
That's tomorrow night, dude. Yeah, I'll be at Kill and Curly. For those of you who don't know, I'm a metal musician, but my side gig is playing these acoustic solo gigs, and I play mostly 80s covers. I'll throw in some slight hints of metal every now and then, but
And every time he plays out, he brings that pillow.
Every time.
That'd be
I'm
more
going
than
through from now on.
slight.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna hang out with you for a little. We have to be somewhere at like 9, 8 o'clock, but we're gonna hang out with you for a little bit.
Cool, man.
My liver's like this week is like, nonstop.
Please stop.
But we had the show on Tuesday, and we had Voivod last night. Fucking tonight.
We were at the casino Sunday even before that. So
Casino Sunday before that.
So you started early.
Yeah, I'm trying. I got to do something with my liver.
Eventually, you can take it out and have it mounted. Probably.
I'm gonna put it in a fucking Longhorn.
Right.
Put it behind the goddamn bull.
Don't put it up there with the other picture.
there you go.
It's a picture of Drew's liver.
After day one.
Draw like an arrow pointing to it for your picture.
There you go.
It's his.
Let me get a picture of your boobs next to it. Just put like the set.
I'm sure you have plenty pictures of my boobs.
Let's see him now.
But does
Oh,
Longhorn?
Jesus.
But does Longhorn?
no, Longhorn is
Do
not.
not ever call a pair of boobs Longhorns. They don't. They do not like that.
No,
Okay?
that's true.
Just telling you. So, guys, I definitely appreciate you hanging out. Jason, again, thank you for setting this up, man.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Fuck yeah, dude. I look forward to the next few years, and hopefully you guys, plug away. And if you're out playing, I want to see it.
Yeah, man. Speaking of plug, you mind if I tell people how to
Plug.
find us?
Plug.
All right. If they go
Wrong
to
camera. Sorry.
sirenband.us, that'll take you to all of our links, Facebook, everything, the movie. If you just want to go directly to the movie, you can go to tooOldForThisMovie.com. But Siren Band US will get you to us, and we'd love to hear from anyone out there. And we are very fan focused because we appreciate everyone who takes the time to listen to our music or watch our story or just interact with us in any way. So pretty much anyone who reaches out, we're always super happy to hear from them and reach back. So thank you very, very much, man, for having us on the show.
And if you like classic metal from the 80s, you can always visit FHM Records because Siren is there.
That's right.
Cool.
Siren and a lot of other quality band, a lot of other Brandon bands are there. So if
Very
it was
cool.
up to Frank, he'd had every band that was ever a band in Brandon. There was a Brandon band on his
Right.
label. He would.
He is a big fan.
He
big
loves
fan of
Brandon
Brandon.
metal.
Very cool.
Yep. FHM Records for international orders and Siren Band US if anyone wants to pick up our albums, CDs, that kind of thing. So
Absolutely. Jason?
Dude, it's just an honor to be here, man, with these guys. I'm so glad I got to meet Ed and Doug. We've been friends for several years. I wasn't here in the area, back in those times, but I met Ed.
That was an interesting story you're telling earlier about when we met. But I was thinking when you were talking about Frank, there was a really interesting story of when I met Frank the first time that he came here.
Oh, that's right. It was you want to tell it or you want me to tell it?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
You set it up.
Yeah, so
I set that up. You set it up.
This is so we're talking about again Frank Headbanger, our number one fan from Germany.
He introduced you guys when you went to Germany. He was on the stage and introduced you to the crowd.
He was that guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was Frank, and
And at the end of the movie, they were all singing the song there in the front row.
Yep.
That was a cheat. There were other people singing the song, though.
he also one thing that he made the experience for us over in Germany so amazing. I mean,
did.
picked us up from the airport. We went like 4 days early so we could see some of the country. Picked us up. We stayed with him for a few days. He took us sightseeing at Heidelberg, the
Very
castle, and so Frank, again, being the number one Siren fan that he is, he had never met Doug before. And Frank was a very successful businessman over in Germany. He's now retired from that and doing the music full time. And he has a really nice house down in Cape Coral. So he was going to be in town one time from Germany down at his house in Cape Coral. And it was during the Iron Maiden show. That was not the most recent one, but the one
Okay.
before that here at Amelie. And he was like, I'm coming up, for the show. Can you? And I'm like, yeah, I'm going too. Let's go together. And he's like, is there any chance to meet Doug? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I think Doug is working that show. Actually,
I was actually building the show
Right,
while they
yeah.
were talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. So he's like, oh, he as he said in the movie, he's not kidding. He's like, if I would give him the choice to meet Bruce Dickinson or Doug Lee, I would meet Doug Lee. And I'm like, wow, okay,
yeah.
that puts it in perspective. So Doug, actually, you stopped.
When I heard
yeah.
that, when Ed told me that, I was
Yeah.
at work and I got to meet this guy now.
Right.
Yeah, he drove back into Brandon from, when he had time to meet with Frank and sign a bunch of stuff
awesome.
for Frank. And it was, just he is such a great guy and has done so much for us both leading up to it.
Just enough time to swing by the house and grab some Siren trinkets, head over to Ed's house, meet Frank, and then go back and do the spot call.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Yannick that night, so I was the most busiest spot op in the whole
Wow.
arena.
That's awesome.
Because Yannick is,
He's crazy.
Very
he's
cool, man.
everywhere.
Frank, you're watching this. I know you're watching this, Frank. You guys share this with your peeps in Germany.
Do it,
Yes. He'll have a Drinking with Drew band tour over in Germany.
Yes.
brother. Yeah,
I'm
buddy.
afraid to fly, though.
True.
Can we do that at the Brass Mountain? All right, guys. Thanks
Why not?
again, man, for coming out. I love you guys coming and just hanging. It was amazing. Let's do it again. Like anytime you guys want to
Yeah,
come on and
let's
just
do it
pop in
again.
and out. Jason, I've told you the same thing, man. Anytime you want to come in and be a voice on the show,
BYOP.
all we
Bring your
do
own
is
pillow.
hang out,
Bring
bring
your
your
own
own
pillow.
pillow.
Yeah. Bring your pillow.
Cool. Thank you very much, Drew, man.
I like the Drinking with Drew concert idea, too.
Yeah, man. Let's
Yes.
do it. Let's do it. We'll get it together.
That's a reason to do it right there.
Fuck yeah, man.
If we needed a reason, we got one now.
I hear you. I like
Got a
it.
couple.
All right, y'all. We're going to meddle on out of here with some SOD. It's the Drinking with Drew show.
Cheers.
Cheers, cheers. Siren in the hizzle.
Yeah, boy.
We'll be back Tuesday. I'm not sure if we have anything too crazy. Probably just another stupid show. We do want to rag on Joe. Did Joe get laid?
Ooh, yeah, we need to find out soon. Let's
Right.
call him. Let's text him after we
We
get
didn't
out.
even talk about that during the show.
Yeah.
Well, we can call him, but we might
We may
interrupt him
Let's not
mid-stroke.
interrupt.
This is 10-year, right? 10-year anniversary.
10-year
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yeah, so we need to make sure this happens.
Yeah. I have a cue. We can go throw some rose petals on the ground and
yeah.
have some champagne waiting.
Got to give him the business.
Yeah.
Yeah. Set it up.
All right, guys. Drinking with Drew. We'll see you next week. Peace out.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
But I do have to piss like a racehorse. So.
Go break your seal.